Hello, folks. Yeah, I've just decided to go live. We have a live feed. As I said, they might give us some of these things because of what's going on at the moment. And we do indeed, we have been given a live shot of the center of Kyiv in Ukraine because of what's unfolding in the last couple of hours. There's been this USA have warned Ukraine that there's a threat of a significant air attack in the capital city of Ukraine. So, yeah, I thought I would go live with this story to show you a live feed of the city in Ukraine. But yeah, I don't know if you've seen the unfolding news. The US has closed its embassy in Kyiv after warning of significant air attack. So the US has shut the embassy in the capital city here because of they believe there is a threat of a significant air attack. Italy has shut its embassies over air attack risk in Kyiv. US Embassy in Ukraine's capital says it has received specific information of a potential significant air attack on Wednesday. What else? Fears of major Russian attack in Kyiv as West rushes to shut embassies. Western nations moved to shut their embassies in Kyiv on Wednesday over fears of a major Russian attack on the Ukrainian capital. The US, Italy, Greece and Spain all closed their embassies in the city after receiving information about a potential significant air attack. The threat comes a day after Ukraine used US-supplied long-range missiles to strike a target inside Russia, taking advantage of newly granted permission from Joe Biden. Out of an abundance of caution, the embassy will be closed, and embassy employees are being instructed to shelter in place, a statement from the US State Department said. Early on Wednesday, Kyiv authorities said it had engaged air defences to repel an attack on the capital. So we did a live yesterday, and we discussed some of the things that have been going on in the last couple of days, if you saw it, in terms of Ukraine being given permission by Joe Biden to use US weapons to long-range missiles to fire into Ukraine after Ukraine had North Korean troops near the border, and then obviously this has started to unfold, and then also the story about Putin changing his nuclear doctrine. Although some people say that that's just saber rattling, other people don't. But this is the latest in this story. And we've been given a live camera in the center of Ukraine, in Kyiv here. Due to this current situation, these are live images. But it looks like a number of Western countries have closed their embassies in the city out of some caution. But it says that the US Embassy received quote-unquote specific information of a major aerial Russian missile attack, and the American citizens have been told to find shelter and to get out of the embassies. So that's kind of the latest update in terms of what's been going on. So I don't know exactly if or when that's going to unfold, but that's the latest in terms of the situation in Ukraine, in Kyiv, and what's been going on this morning. So, yeah, I thought I would bring you these live images, and so you can have a discussion here if you want, and get a direct live images of Kyiv here, where this significant threat has been reported by the US.
Алло, я возле парковки велосипедів і самокатів, от прям по маршруту.
Yeah, there certainly is wars and rumours of wars, right? It's just so many different things going on in the world, isn't there? You know, the Middle East, Ukraine and Russia, and various situations. There's so much going on. It's hard to keep up at times, isn't it, with all the world events at the moment. There's just so much unfolding very quickly at an unprecedented rate, really, considering when we started doing this 10 years ago, we thought things were moving fast, but I mean now it's just so much, isn't there? And seems to be leading towards this season that we're in the end, and just different chess pieces moving on the world stage. You know, just so much going on. So I just wanted to bring this story to you and this update to you. But yeah, no, as someone said, it's, you know, it says, do not fear or be alarmed when you see these things, for the end is not yet. Wars and rumours of wars. Absolutely, we need to keep our mind on that. And, you know, it can be natural to fear some of these things. And, you know, it's good to focus on our faith and read the Bible, say a prayer, try and chat to other Christians, because otherwise you might get consumed by fear in these times. And it's just, we've got to have that inner comfort, even though things can be concerning, as we were saying yesterday. You know, we still have that inner comfort, don't we? That our kingdom, God's kingdom, is not of this world, and there'll be a better place to go to very shortly. If we have faith in Jesus. Actually, I find it amazing to see how many people you see on this live camera that are actually just kind of getting on with their lives as relatively as normal as they can. It's just, yeah, incredible to see the resolve of some of the common people in the face of adversity, and I definitely think there's something to learn from that, you know. Sirens. Did you hear the sirens? Sirens in Kyiv, folks.
Фінляндський має велике приміщення. брате.
Это вы что, меня победили? Вот я забрал.
Піду сюди. Вона прийшла.
Они еще не знали. Я понял. Ладно, хорошего дня вам. Я бы вас ну, еще решения немає. Вони ще я буду Все, занимаемся людьми, понятно. Сейчас это уже читается. Я понимаю.
There we go. We've got the live link is finished there for that. So there is just to let you know, there is an update in 3 hours, around 3 hours time, where they will be talking. The Danish and Ukrainian ministry will be talking. So I might come on for that. We'll see, but we'll leave it there for a bit. And I hope you're all well. This was just an update today to show you what's going on. And we'll be back soon, maybe later. Thank you very much, everyone. Take care. I mean, I could put the British Parliament on if anyone else is interested in hanging around. So I know some people are talking in the comments in the live chat. So I'll put this on for anyone who is interested. They might talk about Ukraine situation, or they have just talked about Ukraine situation as well. This is live in London. They have talked about Ukraine, so I'll put it.
What I would say is scaremongering around what the Labour Party is doing. The budget delivered $5 billion for farming over the next 2 years, a record amount. The last government failed to spend $300 million on farmers, and our plan is
They're currently not talking about, but they were talking about Ukraine. They're taking questions, so they might talk about it again.
Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There are only 7 places in England, according to the House Library, where school funding per pupil is lower than my constituency of Aldershot and Farnborough. Does the Deputy Prime Minister agree with me that something has gone badly wrong when teachers are being forced to pay out of their own pocket for basic school supplies, and so many others have left the profession in droves over the past 14 years?
14 years.
Will ministers work with me to tackle the root of this problem so that we can give every young person in my constituency and beyond the very best start in life?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And every child deserves the opportunity to succeed in school and beyond. And I'm sorry to hear of the experience in her constituency. Last week, I visited Raisingfield Primary School in my constituency.
I'll try to get the audio of where they were just talking about Ukraine, because they're not currently talking about it. I'll see if I can go back and... Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. No, I don't know. I can't. It didn't actually start when it started on the live feed, so. But they had talked about Ukraine, but I don't know if they will again. Yeah. There's Reform UK in there.
And
They talk about the farmers because there was a farmers' strike in London. Well, there was a farmers' protest in London yesterday, and also there was some in Paris as well. There's been a few farmers' protests in the last few days.
Press free to scrutinise politicians is absolutely vital in a free society and a democracy. Is she as concerned as I am about the Stasi-like interview that was given to Alison Pearson, the Daily Telegraph journalist, a week last Sunday? And does she agree with me that the Essex Police Force and other police forces would be better trying to deal with shoplifting, burglaries and other crimes rather than intimidating journalists?
I found
thank my honourable friend for that question. And also, it is incredibly important around free speech and our press. It's part of our democracy. But it's also in direct response to his question. Of course, police are independent and it's a live investigation, and therefore it wouldn't be appropriate for me to comment on that. But I do believe that we should have a free press. It's part of our democracy, and we should have free speech. But with that comes responsibility of those that do it.
Sir Keith Butt.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, I met with 3 constituents in Parliament, Duncan Hawley, his wife Nicola, and his 10-year-old daughter Hattie. Duncan is a sheep farmer, and he stewarded his family farm for most of his life. He's outraged and hurt and worried about the government's deeply damaging family farm tax. And he's deeply worried about food security, food inflation, and whether we'll even be able to pass that farm on to future generations. So my question to the Deputy Prime Minister is very simple. Why has this Labour government declared war on British farmers?
Well, I say to the honourable member and to Duncan and Nicola that this government hasn't declared war on farmers. The vast majority of farms will not pay any inheritance tax, and we have protected them. We have been as generous as we can, and the farmers rely on our public services like everybody else. We inherited a £22 billion black hole from the Conservatives, who spent reserves 3 times over. We are investing in our schools, our hospitals, our public services and housing. And if the honourable gentleman wants to suggest what he would do differently, if he doesn't agree with that, like the Leader of the Opposition, then he should say so.
Dr. Samuel.
Mr. Speaker, the previous government failed countless women through chronic underfunding of maternity services. At Stroud Maternity Hospital, postnatal beds have remained closed for over 2 years. Local midwife-led units like Stroud deliver fantastic quality of care for women whilst having really low intervention rates during birth. Can the Deputy Prime Minister outline what steps this government will take to improve maternity services?
Well, I thank my honourable friend for that question. I'm sorry to hear about the situation in Stroud, and I thank him for raising this important issue for women in his constituency. The Darcy report clearly set out that under the previous government, the NHS was broken, with patients waiting too long for care. We're committed to ensuring that all women and babies receive safe, compassionate and personalised care through pregnancy, birth and, critically, following those months ahead. We will ensure maternity services deliver the best outcomes for patients as we invest to build an NHS fit for the future.
Civil Roberts.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, Lefarydd. Now, I know how much professional care work means to the Deputy Prime Minister. Carried care homes in Porthmadog tell me they won't be able to absorb the additional exorbitant costs imposed by her government's budget. They tell me they believe this poses a threat worse than COVID to their business. Wow. Will she personally intervene, therefore, so that her government at least makes care providers exempt from the rise in employers' national insurance contributions?
Here.
Well, she's absolutely right to say that I absolutely value the work of care providers and carers across the whole of the UK, and that's why we've put additional funding in through the budget as well. And we've also been making sure that care providers and those that work in the charities, including hospices, amongst the tax regime provides the most generous amongst in the world, Mr. Speaker. This includes tax release for charities and their donors worth over £6 billion for the tax year of April 2024. We put record funding into our NHS. We've increased funding into adult social care and children's social care, and will continue to support our public services that were left on the knees by the last government.
Glenn Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 2 weeks ago today, the Chancellor announced a historic £22.6 billion investment into the NHS because it is our duty to rescue this country's health service after 14 years, sadly, of mismanagement, underinvestment and, unfortunately, also misleading announcements from the party opposite. In Plymouth, Derriford Hospital, where I represent, serves not just my constituency, but 19 constituencies across the South West. It is the only major trauma centre for adults in the South West. However, We have really suffered from those decisions from the Conservatives. Can the Deputy Prime Minister outline how that historic investment is going to make its way to Plymouth?
Well, I thank my honourable friend for being such a champion for Plymouth, and as he knows, we're providing 25 billion extra over the next 2 years from the Department for Health and Social Care, including the largest capital budget in real terms since 2010, and we'll make sure that every corner of the UK can see the generosity and how that will improve services for them. And I'll make sure he gets a meeting with the relevant minister to discuss in detail how Plymouth will be able to capitalise off that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The town of Cheshunt in my constituency of Broxbourne has no banks or building societies. We've been told we're not eligible for a banking hub. We've been told we're not eligible for a banking hub. Does the Deputy Prime Minister agree with me that every town that wants a banking hub should be eligible for one so that my residents can have access to their hard-earned cash?
Well, Mr. Speaker, we've committed to 350 banking hubs through this Parliament, and I'm sure the Minister will be happy to meet with him on that point. But I'm also hopeful that he also will be thankful of the Levelling Up Fund Round 2 money that we secured, with £14.3 million going to Waltham Cross Resistance Project, regenerating the town centre for his constituents.
Jonathan Hinder.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know better than most that under the last Tory government, neighbourhood policing was stripped away, leaving the police invisible in towns like those I represent in Pendle and Clitheroe. As a former police inspector, I'm delighted that the new Labour government has committed to rebuild neighbourhood policing. Can the Deputy Prime Minister assure my constituents that Labour's neighbourhood policing guarantee will soon ensure that every town has a dedicated neighbourhood team?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I thank him for his expertise in this area and for the work that he did previous to coming to this place. Tory austerity has decimated neighbourhood policing, and we'll put thousands more neighbourhood police and PCSOs back on our streets to ensure every community has a named local officer, and we'll tackle illegal drugs, half-night crime, crack down on antisocial behaviour and go after the gangs who lure young people into violence.
Dr. Andrew Meredith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Scottish and Welsh governments have banned the construction of new waste incinerators because of health and pollution concerns. The last government paused them and committed to banning them. Why then is this government busy approving them?
Well, Mr. Speaker, planning, as the honourable gentleman knows, we always follow the strict rules in regard to that, making sure that safety and other factors are always taken into consideration, and will continue to do so.
Yuan Yang.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thousands of families in my constituency of Burley and Woodley have moved into new build developments in Shimfield, in Loddon Park and beyond. But many have found their dreams of home ownership punctured by unfair and opaque property management charges. Can the Deputy Prime Minister reassure my constituents by setting out how the Leasehold Reform Bill will address these concerns? And would she like to meet with me and affected constituents?
Well, I welcome my honourable friend to her place. Unjustified increases in service charges are completely unacceptable, Mr. Speaker. The Leasehold and Freehold Reform Act will provide homeowners with greater rights, powers and protections over their homes, and that includes greater transparency over service charges. For too long, leaseholders have been ripped off. It's this government that will sort it out.
Man of the House, Sir Edward Lee.
Today is Red Wednesday, in which we remember all those persecuted for their belief worldwide. A recent report by Aid to the Church in Need shows that in the countries surveyed, persecution of minorities has increased by 60%. In the light of this, will the government commit to reappointing the Prime Minister's Special Envoy for Freedom of Religion and Belief, a post that has remained vacant since July, and do that as soon as possible, hopefully by Christmas, so that we in the United Kingdom can play our part in defending religious and belief minorities worldwide?
Well, I thank the honourable gentleman for his question. We are committed to champion human rights, including the right to freedom of religion or belief. I join the right honourable member in marking Red Wednesday, an important moment to show support for all those persecuted around the world for their religion or belief. And today we will light up the FCDO buildings in the UK in red in support of that, Mr Speaker. Envoy roles are under consideration, will be decided upon in due course.
Lee Burrow.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Harshita Brella was killed and found in the boot of her car as it was taken from her home in Corby on the 14th of November. This tragic murder left the community shocked and scared and is being investigated by the police. Harshita was protected by a domestic violence order that lasted 28 days. It was not renewed. Would the Deputy Prime Minister agree that all must be done to reassure the community and to bring the perpetrator to justice? And would she further agree that in some circumstances, domestic abuse orders should last longer than 28 days when the victims are most vulnerable?
I thank my honourable friend for raising this case, Mr Speaker. Hajita's family, my thoughts are with her family in this horrifying set of circumstances where Hajita should have been protected and felt protected. This government is committed to halving violence against women and girls, Mr Speaker, and we continue to do our work, hopefully across this House, to make sure that we can end circumstances where Hajita faced and we can stop this kind of barbaric action.
Lincoln Judd.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Spelthorne Litter Pickers are an outstanding organisation of 1,000 volunteers who do great work up and down my constituency, come rain or shine. And last week, they were awarded the King's Award for Voluntary Service. Would the Deputy Prime Minister, the Government, indeed the whole House, like to join me in congratulating the Spelthorne Litter Pickers and to thank them for all that they do?
What can I say? I absolutely agree with the honourable gentleman, may I say my honourable friend, in terms of the Spelthorne Litter Pickers, and say what an important role across all of our constituencies where local communities come together and volunteers help. In particular, young people as well do a lot of this in our constituencies, Mr Speaker. So I think across the whole House we congratulate them on their award and those that do the voluntary work and support our community.
Well, Barker.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I draw the House's attention to my register of interest as a very proud trade union member. In 2019, the party opposite promised to deliver an employment bill that would protect and enhance workers' rights in the UK. And like so many of their promises, they never delivered. But my right honourable friend has done it. Cleaning up the mess that the party opposite left behind. So would the Deputy Prime Minister agree with me that her employment rights bill is the biggest upgrade to workers in a generation?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And declaring an interest, me and my right honourable friend used to be conveners for Unison North West as well, and I champion the work that she's done on behalf of her constituents and for working people of this country. The government is delivering on its plan to make work pay and to ensure that employment rights are fit for a modern economy. And the Employment Rights Bill will benefit people in some of the most deprived areas of the country and will save them up to £600 per year in lost income from hidden costs of insecure work. So I commend the work that many honourable members, some across the House and in particular on our benches, that have brought this bill to fruition.
Reb Stewart.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The whole House recognises the authenticity of the Right Honourable Lady's backstory, her pride in being a carer, and indeed in her recent elevation. By contrast, in June, the Chief Constable of Northamptonshire was sacked for misrepresenting his CV. And just last month, Tanya Nasri, the nurse, was imprisoned for 5 years for doing the same. Does the Right Honourable Lady agree with me that such serious consequences are right and just in such cases?
Well, Mr. Speaker, what I would say to the honourable gentleman, I know where he's trying to go with this. While it's tempting, what I would say to the honourable gentleman is, sorry, the right honourable gentleman, I do apologise. What I would say to the right honourable gentleman is our Chancellor in the last 4 months has shown more competence than the last 4 Chancellors that he had.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My home city of Edinburgh, despite being Scotland's capital, is the lowest funded per head local authority in Scotland, due to austerity inflicted on us by the SNP in Holyrood. That means great projects like the Ripple face closure. Now that my right honourable friend, the Secretary of State for Scotland, has secured the biggest block grant to Scotland in the history of the Scottish Parliament, will the Deputy Prime Minister work with me to ensure the Scottish Government uses that to end austerity for my constituents?
I absolutely agree with my honourable friend. He's entirely right to raise the impact of SNP's irresponsible management of Scotland's finances and the austerity that they're inflicting on his constituents. Our budget rejected a return to austerity, and we delivered the largest funding settlement for Scotland in real terms since devolution. The result of the budget is clear, Mr. Speaker. The SNP have the powers, they have the money, they have no more excuses.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I was contacted last week by a constituent whose husband has stage 4 bowel cancer. He had a routine scan in June but didn't receive the results until early November. And unfortunately, within that period, he received unsuitable chemotherapy and his cancer has progressed. Given that Shropshire has the worst record in the country for CT and MRI scan results, can I ask the Deputy Prime Minister the same question that my constituent has asked me? When is the government going to address this problem?
Well, I'm sincerely sorry to hear about your constituent's husband and the terrible diagnosis at stage 4 and the delays in that. We've set out before how difficult the inheritance was in terms of the cancer diagnosis waiting list. People are waiting far too long for treatment. It's why the Chancellor put record money and funding into our NHS so that we can catch cancer on time. And I know that the Health Secretary is determined to do this, and it's a personal endeavour to him to make sure that people are not having to wait and don't end up in the circumstances that are so tragic for your constituent.
Just for the record, I'd like to apologise to Mr Kruger. I got the wrong person. Mr Wilder's not owned up to it. What I would say is don't... What I would say to the honourable member is, don't sit next to him again. Right, that completes Prime Minister's question.
Well, I thought there'd be more discussion about Ukraine there. I think they did at the start, but yeah, bit concerning situation, really, isn't it? But yeah, they did talk about it at the start. It's just that the live link missed the first few minutes. But yeah, as I said at the beginning of the live, that's the latest developments in terms of what we've seen. I'll just have a look. We lost our live camera in Kyiv, unfortunately. But yeah, all the embassies have closed. A lot of the Western embassies have closed. As we were saying at the beginning. Spain, Italy and Greece join US in closing the embassies.
Urgent question. Lisa Smart.
Very much, Mr. Speaker. I would like to ask the Secretary of State for the Home Department if she will make a statement on police reform.
A lot of these are kind of local UK issues.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And can I start by thanking the Honourable Lady for this urgent question on this very important subject. At its best, policing in England and Wales is truly world-class. Every day,
I'll have a look if there's any more updates.
With courage, skill and dedication, and we are all grateful to all of them. At the heart of our British policing tradition is the notion of policing by consent, which is dependent on maintaining mutual bonds of trust between officers and the local communities they serve. But over the last decade or more, policing has faced a perfect storm. As visible neighbourhood policing has been decimated, as law enforcement has struggled to keep up with fast-changing crimes, as outdated technology has held forces back, and as confidence has fallen in communities and amongst victims, because far too often people feel that if something goes wrong, no one will come and nothing will be done. But for too long, instead of government showing leadership and helping the police to navigate these testing times, predecessors in our department have just walked away. This government will not stand on the sidelines while public confidence and public safety are put at risk. And that's why we're pursuing our unprecedented Safer Streets mission, to reduce the most serious violence and to rebuild confidence in policing and the criminal justice system. Now, to successfully deliver that mission, we need forces that are fit for the challenge of today and tomorrow. That is why the Home Secretary yesterday announced a programme of police reform that will be pursued in partnership with policing. And under our neighbourhood policing guarantee, we will restore patrols to town centres and rebuild the vital link between forces and the people they serve. To drive up performance and standards, a new performance unit will be established in the Home Office, which will use high-quality police data to spot trends, improve performance and consistency. And we will work with policing to create a national centre of policing to bring together crucial support services such as IT, aviation and forensics. We will present a white paper on police reform to Parliament next year. The 25-26 police funding settlement for police forces, including full details on government grant funding and precept, will be set out to Parliament in the normal way before Christmas. But the Home Secretary confirmed in her written statement yesterday that as part of that settlement, direct central government funding for policing next year will increase by £500 million. That's core grant and additional funding for neighbourhood policing, counter-terrorism and the National Crime Agency. Mr. Speaker, we are at a critical juncture for policing, and we cannot go on as we have been. So together with the police, we will embark on this roadmap for reform to get back to those precious Peel principles and to rebuild the confidence of our communities in the vital work the police do every day to keep us all safe.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I'm very grateful to you for granting this urgent question. Yesterday, the Home Secretary announced significant reforms to policing through a written statement, a comprehensive restructuring of policing in England and Wales, which will affect thousands of personnel, create a new performance unit and establish a national centre for policing surely merits some parliamentary scrutiny and an opportunity for members of this House to question what it means for their constituents. So for my own Hazel Grove constituents, what does it mean for Mellor, the most rural part of my constituency?
Yeah, so I just wanted to show you a few things. This is kind of the latest that I've seen at the moment in terms of the current situation in the capital of Ukraine and with Russia and everything. So yeah, someone asked if it's cold. It is cold. We have snow coming today. In a few hours, we've got snow again, so it's going to be quite cold, yeah, in the UK. Yeah, so Ukraine war latest, sirens in Kyiv over missile hazard after US shuts embassy in face of attack threat. The US is warning of a potential airstrike on its embassy in Kyiv after a specific threat. It says key points here. Air sirens sounding in Kyiv, which I think we heard, didn't we, on the live camera? I don't know if all of you were here when we had our live link there. It was we heard the air raid sirens going off with official warning of missile hazard. US closes embassy over risk of significant air attack. Sorry, can you see that? Biden approves provision of anti-personnel mines. Mines will be non-persistent, so aren't long-term threat to civilians. Trump presidency could see part of Ukraine permanently in Russian hands. Putin's nuclear saber-rattling reaches new dangerous level. How Russia has created the climate of fear. What are the anti-personnel landmines the US is sending to Ukraine? President Joe Biden has approved sending anti-personnel landmines to Ukraine as he seeks to ramp up support for Kyiv in his final days in office. Their use is banned by more than 150 countries, but notably not by the US and Russia. What are anti-personnel landmines? Landmines are explosives that are concealed on the ground, are designed to detonate when enemy forces pass over or near them. So these are kind of the latest things. Putin's spy chief warns of punishment for West 19 minutes ago. Vladimir Putin's spy chief has warned the West it risks disastrous consequences after Ukraine's first use of US long-range missiles in an attack on Russia yesterday. Attempts by individual NATO allies to participate in providing for possible long-range strikes with Western weapons deep into Russian territory will not go unpunished, the head of Foreign Intelligence Service of Russia told National Defense Magazine. Joe Biden, the US president, lifted the ban to strike Russia over the weekend, and Ukraine used 6 of them in an attack on a military facility in the border region of Bryansk yesterday, according to Moscow's defense ministry. Yeah, and it says there, which we saw on the live feed, air sirens sound in Kyiv with official warning of a missile hazard. Warning Kyiv is a missile hazard, go to the shelters. Yeah, we heard that. Yeah, so several embassies have closed over this anticipation. Oh, and I don't know if you guys heard about this, but there's been talk of this hybrid warfare yesterday and today, where they've been claiming that Russia is engaged in like a form of hybrid warfare of trying to cause chaos through different means, here, there, and everywhere. And I don't know if you heard that these cables were damaged or cut in the Baltic Sea. That was about 2 or 3 days ago. These cables going to Europe, these telecommunication cables in the Baltic Sea. And of course, there's been accusations flying around that's Russia that's done that as a form of this hybrid warfare of just kind of trying to cause chaos in Europe and things like that. But yeah, it says here an hour ago, the Kremlin has said it's absurd to suggest it had any involvement in damage caused to 2 fibre optic data telecommunication cables in the Baltic Sea. European governments have accused Russia of escalating hybrid attacks on Ukraine's Western allies, although stopped short of directly accusing Moscow of the attack over the weekend. The incident came days after one data cable running between Finland and Germany and one running between Sweden and Lithuania were cut. When asked about the matter, Kremlin spokesman told a regular news briefing it's quite absurd to continue to blame Russia for everything without any reason. He continued, it is probably laughable against the background of the lack of any reaction to Ukraine's sabotage activities in the Baltic Sea. This was a reference to the Nord Stream gas pipeline explosions in September 2022, which Russia blamed on Ukraine and its allies. So, yeah, there's all this stuff going on, and there's a lot of concern, there's some concern with people about Trump's stance on Ukraine as well, of course, so that probably affects things going on. But yeah, we heard that missile threat when we were live on the stream. We lost that live, unfortunately. You know, I hope we do get that back at some point soon. Yeah, the London one has finished as well, so yeah, I don't know. I think, I mean, as I said, there is something later in terms of the there's a, well, there was, yeah, there it is. There's a Ukrainian and Danish defense minister holding a press briefing, and that's, when is that? 2 hours. So that's in 2 hours' time. So that could be interesting, but to see what they're saying. But yeah, the London one has finished now. I mean, we could call it. We'll take a break there, I think, and we have been out live for just over an hour, but we don't have our Ukraine live camera back at the moment, so I'll see if anything else is worth coming on for. I'll come back on, but for now we'll see what happens, and make sure you subscribe and click all notifications on the bell if you want to see when we do go live, and because we kind of just go live as and when, as an ongoing thing, really. I mean, as I said before, I might start to have these lives going for longer, but in terms of, like, we have live cameras in different places sometimes that we can show overnight, and some people like to see that and watch that and chat to people. So when I get my equipment set up a bit better, I might start to have kind of longer streams as well as these discussion updates, and you know, do a variety, a mixture of both. So we've only just started getting this off the ground anyway. This is quite new. We've only done this for about 3 weeks, so we're still kind of finding our feet with this. It's a new venture, really, to have live streams and show different things that are going on in the world, to keep people updated in terms of the latest developments on the world stage, and especially in terms of watching and seeing what's going on, and having a different place to watch it rather than the mainstream, because it's nice not to have to go there. And of course there's a lot of decent people in the live chats, and it's a good place for people to hang out, I think, and meet other like-minded people, and also attract other people to it who wouldn't normally come to a channel like this. Thank you, Believer. Oh, Heather, that's funny. I just had a chicken chow mein. That's great. Very nice. Very nice indeed. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. As I say, this is all licensed stuff. We don't steal this. We pay for this. It's, you know, it's all above board. We're not just like coming on here and ripping something from another channel. This is all professional stuff. But yeah, that's the latest, really. I wanted to come on and cover this briefly because it's a big story at the moment. So anyway, thank you all for coming, and I will speak to you all soon. Take care, everyone. And yeah, look out for another stream at some point very shortly, hopefully, maybe today. Thank you for coming.